Welcome to the Divine Advantage Podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric Skeldon and Brian Orm.
Good seeing you, Brian. Good seeing you, everyone. We are super stoked for this podcast. We got an amazing guest that's going to blow your guys' mind. Brian, and are you excited? Brian, we got to actually go speak with our guest at a blockchain, like talking about the blockchain and Bitcoin to the banks, which was an amazing.
It was super cool, man, to be in a room with bankers to help them understand the potential in crypto. That was super fun.
Yeah, so this is awesome. So it's an honor, you guys. We have an amazing guest who I was looking at our, threads of our messages from like 3-4 years ago. He was in the Dallas area, basically moving and shaking. Over the past 20-30 years, really building some amazing businesses. He created a $3 billion in revenue insurance agency, scaled it with, tons of employees, tons of staff, and sales, and really just, making a wave here in Dallas, getting the attention and of all the people in Texas representing, in Texas, they say they're, everything's bigger in Texas. So you're not just trying to make $1 million, 10 million in revenue, 100 million in revenue. This guy's like, no, we're going to create not even $1 billion. We're going to create 3 billion in revenue, and really just creating jobs, creating millionaires. One of the things I learned and I liked when I heard about, Michael's story was how, his company actually created dozens and dozens of millionaires through the company. So it's like the idea of actually, the idea of discipleship is like, multiplying, who you are, and in a company, you can actually do that and give people multiplication of what you're doing. So, Michael's an amazing business leader, father, husband, and entrepreneur. And even, we called the title of this creating 3 billion in revenue. And what Michael says in his story, God knocking him off his Rolls Royce into the kingdom. And, Michael throws amazing events called Next Level, these next level events and experiences where you get to experience God in next level, and your emotions, your intelligence, your business, thinking about all the different holistic parts that God made us, and really take you to your next level. He's a best-selling author of a book that I think has next levels in it as well. I'm not sure, but it's an amazing book. Go get it. And we're super stoked to have Michael on. I've got to go to a number of his events here in Dallas, and it really has transformed the way I think and the way a lot of us Christians think about lack, and just like barely doing what we can do, and basically what Jesus has paid for. A lot of us are just walking, and they say we use 10-20% of our brain. In the kingdom, I think we use 10% of what Jesus has paid for. So Jesus has taken the keys of sin and death and Hades and the grave, and given us he's been given all authority to Jesus, and Jesus is like, nope, I'm actually extending that authority to you, and we're like accessing 10% of it. So Michael wakes a lot of people up to that. So that's what our declaration is for you guys today. You guys will be woken up to and activated to your potential. So without further ado, let's bring up Michael Mcintyre. Give it up.
Whoa.
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Brian, Eric, I'm so honored to be on your podcast. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah.
You got a lot going on.
Yes. We're, as we say here, we're very active.
Yeah, you guys stay busy as a family, and that's what I love about you, Michael, is you're a family guy, and you actually bring the family into the fold, into entrepreneurship, and help them find their gifts and strengths. And I have 5 daughters, so it's a big deal that you have daughters as well, and really pour into them and leadership and all those things.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric. It's all about legacy, isn't it? Right. And, making a lot of money is great. It's good, but it's not everything. It's about leaving a legacy of integrity, of character building, of creating something from nothing. That's what I love about entrepreneurship, and especially Christian entrepreneurship, that, you get into the kingdom and you create something from nothing, and that otherwise wouldn't be there, and more efficient, better, faster, cheaper, and you get to bless the kingdom in that process. And yeah, so I'm excited. I've got, two entrepreneur daughters, one that works in the company, and the other two are amazing at what they do. And they're in the music business and in the concierge business, have their own companies. And so, yeah, it's exciting to see. And listen, none of it's easy, but as I always say, it's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And we'd be, going down to the grocery store with a barrel full of money to buy a loaf of bread. So you got to keep things in perspective sometimes.
So, Michael, how did you get kind of introduced into entrepreneurship? Was that a moment for you? Was it progression? Was it a model that you saw?
Yeah, great question, Brian. What happened was when I was younger, my dad was a State Farm insurance agent. He had just started out, and it was back in 1970s. And I was 13, 14, 15 years old, maybe 16. And I would work at his office and help clean the office and clean the bathrooms and stuff. And I just liked how he showed up in that. And plus he had beautiful assistants. I thought that was just a life. I mean, how could you not have that? And so I just thought that was really interesting. And then I worked for my uncles in their paint and body shop for a while. And I liked that. I was sweeping floors. Then I joined the Air Force, and I went in the Air Force and spent 4 years in the Strategic Air Command. And I saw right away that I did not want to work for the man. I didn't. I enjoyed the Air Force. I enjoyed serving my country. I enjoyed that, very patriotic. But I knew that, and there were some people that said, listen, this is what they're going to do for the rest of their life, is be what we call back then as a lifer, and which was fine. I didn't understand it at the time because I was very young. But I knew that I wanted more. And so when I got out of the Air Force, I got my insurance license, and I found out that I have a knack for this. And I just really, my first week in the insurance business, as a salesperson, I made like $7,000. And this is back in 1982 when $7,000 meant something. And so I was hooked at that point. I said, okay, this is where I need to be. This is my calling to step into the space. And so at that point, Brian, I was all in. I had the trouble hook in my mouth, and I was all in.
That's amazing. So what, this was, and I've heard you talk about your father-in-law. Were you working with your father-in-law?
Not at that time. I didn't start working with him until later on, but he was really instrumental. And after his company closed down, he kind of coached me, and he was a very difficult coach, but I knew that I was being coached by a master. And so I loved it. He helped a lot. He helped me make decisions. He helped me give me advice, financial advice, business advice, recruiting advice in the insurance business. He had a background in the insurance business too. It was funny because my dad was in the insurance business, my father-in-law was in the insurance business, and I got in the insurance business. It kind of runs that way. But he was instrumental in my success. He was a really strict, loving, disciplined coach.
Yeah, and it's cool that even like some of that passed into, you learning about kingdom coaching in the future from a kingdom perspective. But before we get to like coaching and stuff, you've created an epic company, and even though you would say that you kind of, after flying in the jets, and you've have all these amazing stories of having a jet and the company just doing well and all the different things. We'll love to learn some of the kingdom principles, that reverse engineering, looking back, for people listening that are like, well, Michael, what were some of the principles that you did in that company to scale it to, and then also what were some of the challenges? So we'll love to hear some of the kingdom principles that that you did well, and then go into even some of the challenges you wish you would have been like, I wish I would have went back, and like, if I would have told myself when I was starting a company this, what would you have told yourself?
Yeah, it's good. It's a good observation. I think that what helped me, and my father-in-law was instrumental in helping me in this, and he taught me that you got to let people make money. And there's so many entrepreneurs out there that get in the fear and get in the scarcity, and they want to keep most of the percentages and the money and only give out a little bit. And I think that's one of the things I learned early on, was that let people make money. And I I understood it, but I didn't like it at first. I'll be honest with you. Okay. Because Stacy and I remember we were eating kibbles and bits, you know, and everybody else was making big money. And my father-in-law had died at this time, and we were starting our own new insurance deal. And so, I mean, people were doing really well, but Stacy and I weren't, because we were spending a lot to get the business going. And I remember one time being in the office and, you know, writing out the last check to the agent. And I don't know, it was like, you know, $6,800 for his commissions, which he earned. But I think that week I took home $900 and it was like, I needed about $7,000 that week. And so I remember crying out, like, when is this going to turn, you know? And I remember, you know, my father-in-law's words were just let them make money, let them prosper. And it did turn. It took a while, but within about a year, maybe less than, maybe 9 months, then it turned. And it turned huge into where we started making, you know, millions of dollars. And I think one of the principles I've learned was to let them make money. Don't be greedy. Give out more than you know you have, which in the end, over the years, we created like 175 millionaires from that. And not everybody was successful with this. A lot of people didn't want to pay the price of the 4-letter word called work. And so we took on people, and a lot of people say, how did you recruit your good people? Where did you find your talent? Because you had some amazing talent, McIntyre. And I tell them, and again, I think this is a good principles, and it's probably, it was in reverse engineering, like you said, it was probably God in this process. But I always look for people that had tragedy in their life. For management. And I love people that were, you know, went through the Bill W program, and maybe they're AA or NAA, and they've gone through that and they're sober and they've turned their life around, or had a very hard divorce, or maybe a tragic death. And I wanted people that have seen adversity, because if you've never seen adversity, it's coming. And if you're not familiar with how to deal with adversity, you're never going to be able to make it in the business world. And if you've been Pollyanna the whole your life, and when adversity hits, you're going to crumble. So that was one of the things that really helped me find people. And I always called our agents was the land of misfits, and because they were a lot of them were second chance. Many of them had gone out there and, you know, try to get in a multi-level marketing scam and lost money or whatever. And as we always said, that, you know, when broke comes in the window, love goes out the door. And so some of them, their marriage was hanging on by a thread because they were broke. And so we gave these guys, we had a lot of men, we did have some women working for us too, but a second chance. And what I really enjoyed watching is a family coming back together, not because of money, but because of the healing that money brought. And once they started making money again, and the dad or the mom or whoever was the provider for the family had that pride and being able to take care of the family. It was a wonderful thing. Probably the thing that I look back and with regret is I didn't know Jesus at the time, not the way I know him now. And I felt, and I still grieve this sometimes. I have to give it back to the Holy Spirit. But the platform that I had, but all things perfect in his timing. Right. And so I grieved that. The other thing is I think I had probably a 4 or 5 year run of arrogance and egotistical narcissism. And my wife would think I'd be too hard on myself. But as I look back, you know, I was pretty high flyer, you know, 35, 37, 38 years old, making millions of dollars, you know, in entrepreneur. And I think as I look back, and not that I was an evildoer by any stretch, because we donated and we gave out things and we helped people and we went to church. I didn't believe in it, but we went to church every Sunday. I wanted my daughters to be raised in that Christian atmosphere. But I started believing my own press at one point. And I think that wasn't good. And I look back at that and I regret that.
So you have a Damascus Road encounter, your Rolls Royce, or maybe like a 90210 encounter in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you? And what was kind of when you look pre-encounter, whatever that looked like, and post, what was kind of the biggest shift in your mindset?
Yeah, it was a heart shift, Brian. Really, it was a really total heart shift. What I had envisioned in my mind, because I repelled at any born again Christian. I did not enjoy being around them. I felt that there was a judgmental. I was raised in a Catholic family, and my parents were divorced, and my stepmother was Southern Baptist, and she believed that the Catholic people weren't Christians, and they were not necessarily saved or not clean. And I get that, I understand, but it was a big problem because we weren't invited into the house, her house, or anything like that. So I had a big disdain, especially for Baptist born again Christians, and so I didn't want anything to do with that. And the other thing I didn't want to do with it, I felt that being a Christian, you had to live a Mormon lifestyle. I like coffee, I like beer, I like smoking cigars, and to be honest with you, I thought that's, I just didn't. I think that was a bridge too far, if you will, and I just didn't like the piety or the self-righteousness of the attitude of the born again Christians. And a lot of times I made all that up, which, but some of it was true. But after my heart shift, and after I gave my life to Jesus, and I had a huge, on the road to Damascus, got knocked off my Bentley, so to speak. And so what happened for me was I got invited to a men's Christian gathering, if you will, at Watermark Church here in Dallas. And for the first time, and I was shocked, and I loved it, that I got to be introduced to real men who really truly believers, and that were true to themselves and vulnerable. And I think that was probably the biggest shift for me. And my heart was 100% in. And then at the same church at Watermark, I was probably 8-month-old baby Christian. And being a business guy that I was probably 75% logically in, but there was a 25% still doubting logic on this and how it all works, until Todd Wagner, a friend of mine who was the senior pastor at the time at Watermark, invited Lee Strobel in. I didn't know who Lee Strobel was, but when he got up and spoke for an hour about the case for Christ, that nailed it for me. And that my heart was all in. Then my logical business brain came and followed 100%.
Amazing.
That's epic. And so from there, Lee Strobel, the analytical, I related when I came out to Dallas and heard that story and you talking about that. And because my dad is very like that. He's from Johannesburg, South Africa. He worked in corporate finance here in Dallas for AmerisourceBergen, big pharma company, JP Morgan. And just like he's a believer, but it's like he's never encountered the Spirit. He's never encountered a real encounter with the Spirit. It's all just logical. Read the book, read the Bible from front to back multiple times, and just like logically, he'll say like, yeah, like I understand, I understand like what it is, but like that never reached the heart for my dad, and so that was always hard because I never had the dad that I could talk to about spiritual matters. I mean, he taught me work ethic. I mean, he came out here and got a business degree at UNT, or not a business, sorry, an MBA at UNT in accounting while working full time. So like I couldn't even, like, I'm a millennial. I couldn't even think about working full time and doing an MBA. I'll be like, no, I need to do one or the other. Like, it's like, anyways, so that mindset of that generation there, it's like, no, we work hard. And like he got a, #1 tennis championship at Auburn University in singles men's tennis. So he was just a very hardworking dude from South Africa. But anyways, going forward to, a lot of people don't know that you actually ended up going to Upper Room and like bringing your marketplace skills. I love this because like a church like Upper Room that's so spirit filled, and we know Upper Room, for a lot of people know them just because of their music, because the people who don't come to Dallas, and I have people in Kansas that they're like, yeah, we go to Upper Room like every other month, that's just like, they're like, they just go visit Upper Room. And I'm like, I lived out here and I didn't even go to Upper Room that much. I'm like, but they're like, no, we go out there, we hear about them online and we're going to go out there because we love the atmosphere. But a lot of people don't know, for you actually, actually coached the other Michael, that senior pastor, and helped, bring your business anointing. Because I think that's what we're really trying to discover in this podcast, is how the marketplace ministry, being anointed for business, you actually are a leader in the church or in the kingdom, whether someone does give you a pulpit or not. But for you, you were able to actually bring your skills to a place like Upper Room. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were at Watermark for 6 years, which is a great church, biblical church, evangelical. And Stacy, my wife, said, listen, we need more. And I thought, well, how much more can you get? I mean, this, you got 4,000 people in here on Sunday, and I like everybody. And the pastor, I get invited to his private Bible studies. She goes, no, we need more. And so I didn't know what more was until I went to Upper Room. So we went to Upper Room, and when we got there, it was real small. It was like 200 people, and it was just, it was a small place. It was down in the gay community of Dallas, and which was fine. I didn't care, but I'm a little pretentious, and I didn't like the building. I didn't, we were in this little small place above a veterinarian clinic, and it was kind of cheesy, and it was very, very diverse. Okay, so at Watermark, it's not. Everybody was the same. Everybody drove Lexus or Mercedes, and for the most part, which was fine. But at Watermark or at Upper Room, it was extremely diverse, which was really cool, and they're Holy Spirit filled, and I great. And so I got there, and it was small. And Michael Freeland Miller, amazing pastor, and he really brought in Michael Malden and Meredith Malden, who helped build the worship team into what it is today. And so, but I think what was really good there is the senior pastor, Michael Freeland, was like, he needed help, and I was a business guy, and so he reached out, and so I started helping them and coaching them, working with the leadership team, and we built an amazing thing. And working with Malden and Peter Lewis and these guys, we managed to develop this thing into what it is today. And in fact, for the first 4 years, I was just hanging out and coaching and advising and showing up. And then they wanted me to come on staff, which I was really against doing. I didn't want to do it. And Miller was very patient with me, because he asked me twice to be an executive pastor, and I said no. I don't want to be. I'm not a pastoral kind of guy. And so the third time he asked me, God told me to say yes, and so I said yes under one condition. And I said, Michael, I don't want to be called executive pastor. I will be the CEO. So I became the first CEO of a nonprofit organization in the history of the United States. And so, and which it was such a wonderful experience. I served in that seat for 18 months, and it was probably the most fulfilling and the hardest thing I ever did. And I think one of the things, just to give anybody out there, pastors or worship leaders or staff members at church or elders, it's not easy, and I get it. And I got to see Michael Freeland Miller taught me on how to love everybody always, and Bob Goff wrote a book about that, and it's so true. To be Jesus, you need to love everybody always. And I don't know how they do it. I really don't. And Freeland really showed me how to do that in a small way, and I haven't mastered it, but I'm working on it. But if you see these emails and these texts these guys and gals get, it's incredible. But I think one of the things that my advice to pastors or worship leaders, staff members, is to be vulnerable, be honest with each other. Just because he's a senior pastor doesn't mean he's God. He's not. Okay. And also the worship leaders, man, it's not about you. It's about him. It's not about your great new song or your EP or, playing the stuff. It's about him. And we got to, and listen, Satan loves church. He likes to split it. He loves to come in and do divide and conquer. And he does it with ego. He does it with money. And probably one of the biggest things that, we have to do is start paying people better in church. Yeah. And, it's an economy and it's a business. And one of the things I remember going in there, and Miller said, listen, our biggest donor just left. I said, good. He was holding us back, first of all. And the other thing is, you never need to know who's the biggest donor, whether they give you $5 a month or $500,000 a month. That should be a mystery to you. The left hand should know what the right hand's doing in the church. So, but Freeland was great. He was coachable. Him and his wife, Larissa, are absolutely amazing people. They built a mega church out there, and they keep thriving, and I'm proud of them.
Amazing, man. What would you say to the entrepreneur, to circle back a little bit? You mentioned kind of that fear, like, let's let everyone make money. But what would you say to the entrepreneur that is kind of in that place of like, I want to grow, but I'm a little nervous about letting go of some things?
Yeah, it's the age-old problem as an entrepreneur. I often tell people the worst thing an entrepreneur can have going into a business is money. And the reason is because money makes us lazy. And as an entrepreneur, it's really easy to throw money at problems, but it dampers your creativity. God created us in his image, and you're very, very creative. And that's why we're doing this Echoes of Creation, because there's entrepreneurship is probably the most creative thing out there, more so than artistry, in my opinion. Because you've got to be thinking, you've got to think in a 360 circle constantly. You know, if you're an artist painting art, which is beautiful, which is talent, but it's, you know, it's generally two-dimensional. As a entrepreneur, you know, you're playing 3D chess constantly. And so you've got to be creative. The other thing is trust in him. David Green, CEO of Hobby Lobby, told me, he said, listen, you got to give Jesus, let him be the CEO of your business. And if you do that, okay, you're still going to make mistakes, but they're not going to be as painful and long. But the insecurities, the fear is just the enemy. And it's the enemy trying to divide and conquer, just like in the church. And what the enemy wants to do is say, okay, don't spend that money. Don't hire that person. Don't put your ads out there. Don't do this. You got to conserve. You got to keep your powder dry. And what I tell entrepreneurs is, listen, this is why we have Visa and MasterCard and American Express. Okay. And I do not go on the Dave Ramsey theory of don't spend and don't get in debt. I do not go on that theory. I think it's that if you're a third grader, all right, carry your lunch money around in an envelope, rock on. But if you're an entrepreneur, you got to be bold in Christ. You got to take a chance. You got to take a risk. And listen, when building our business, you know, American Express didn't know it, but they were my silent partner for many years. And that's, you know, and either you're going to make it. And here's the good thing too. Don't be in fear, because you live in the United States of America. You don't live in Syria. You don't live in Russia. You don't live in Afghanistan. And we do not have a debtor's prison here in the United States of America. We've got bankruptcy laws. Okay. And that's right. I said it. Okay. And so a lot of times like, oh, I can't ever do that. Really? Well, don't be stupid and be broke. Or do you want to be rich and be as wise? What does it say? Wise as a serpent, or shrewd as a serpent, and wise and soft as a dove. You know, look at the parable of talents. Okay, this is what separates the wheat from the chaff, and this is why I came in to. I believe God gave me in at this time is to help Christians get out of this poverty mindset and never want to get in debt. I was coaching somebody just the other day. They're making $400,000 a year, and they're worried about spending $25,000 on an ad. And I was like, are you kidding me? You know, am I being punked here? Is there a price? I mean, you know, because the only way, you know, the only way to get to that next level, okay, I said, listen, how much money do you want to make? And they said, well, I want to make $2 million a year. I said, okay, how much money do you have in the bank? And they said, I've got a little over $600,000 in the bank. Then the way to get to that $2 million or $3 million a year, you've got to be willing to lose that $600,000 in the bank. And there's a lot of people that just aren't right. Elon Musk almost BK'd twice. Am I advocating going bankrupt? No. But I'm advocating measure twice, seek wisdom, cut once, find people to go, find a coach, find a mentor. Don't go to a coach that's driving a or a 2002 Toyota Tercel. Go to a coach that's driving a new Mercedes or a Lincoln, or that's got something going on. It's got a house, a mortgage, that, you know, has mowed his yard, and his wife is there, and his kids show up at Thanksgiving. Look for the fruit in your coaching. Look for your fruit in your mentorship. That's the ones that you want to learn from. Look, I've got 35 years plus in business. People pay me a lot of money because they don't want to make the same 35 years worth of mistakes I made. They want to cut through the chase. They want to narrow that down. They're going to pay me a lot of money so they can shrink down that ROI down to maybe 6 months instead of 16 years. And that's what you got to do. And, you know, I've had people sit there and lose sleep over their Visa card because they're afraid that they're going to come and throw them in jail. I said, are you kidding me? They can put ketchup on and eat that. That's a non-recourse loan. Do I advocate taking out all the money I can? No, and going to Vegas, but use that money wisely. I help people all the time get wealthy in his kingdom.
Awesome.
I love that. Come on. Yeah, don't be afraid, you guys. You can't be afraid.
Trust in him, man.
Yeah, it's good. It's we spent $100,000 in Facebook ads last year, and that was like a big orphan spirit for me to like learn to spend $100K in Facebook ads, and then we did $1 million in revenue because we spent $100,000, and we also gave to partners. We gave another $100,000 just to partners because we gave 30% of what they helped us bring in through their networks, which is basically advertising too.
100%. I love that, Eric. And listen, the old adage, you got to spend money to make money. If you go in fear, you're in lack. If you start complaining and be in fear, you're worshiping the wrong God.
Indeed.
Yeah. So Michael, we're going to an amazing event, you guys. It's called Echoes of Creation. Michael, talk about a little bit about that. You're bringing the Grammy Award-winning artists, writers, singers. You're curating, your wife and your guys' team are curating amazing creativity. And I believe you guys are also working on releasing some films. We're releasing some films. And it's interesting that business people are now working with the producers to get things done. It's kind of like what you talked about in the Upper Room. Because we have a creative mind, the mind of Christ, but we also know business on how to do $1 million film and turn it into 2 million, 3 million, talents.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's true. It's so true. Listen, the entertainment mountain is the mountain we need to take now. Okay. And as Christians, not only do we have the ability, Brian and Eric, but we have the responsibility to step into this space. Right. And there's people that have gone, there's giants that are coming to the Echoes of Creation. These guys, Chuck and Carrie, they produced and put out God's Not Dead 1 and 2, Unplanned, the movie, Nefarious. They've done this stuff. These are movie producers. They're starting a brand new TV streaming called Believe Plus. And the beginning of it says, welcome home. And what this is about is Judeo-Christian morals and obligations out there that they want to have good stuff to be broadcast out there. If you look at Netflix right now or Prime, which, there's good stuff on there, but if you look at it, they always have some LGBTQ situation in there. You would think that 97, 98% of our country is in the LGBTQ community, and it's not. Okay. Not that we don't love them, not that we don't want to help them, not that we're going to do anything other than and pray for them, but this is not who we are. And so not the majority of us. And so what we need to do is we need to come back and take that entertainment mountain in music, and in production, and in TVs, and scripts, and book writing. So we're bringing all these people together so people can have actual takeaways and start getting their books written if they want to, they might be able to sell their movie idea, selling their movie script. Maybe they're going to sell we're having record labels come in to where people can sign and with record labels and get their song out there. Listen, all it takes is that one break, right? Because if you get a break and somebody says, hey, that's a great idea, I want to make that movie, some of us don't have $1 million to produce that movie, or $10 million or $100 million to produce that movie. But there's other people that can come underneath you and do that. Sure, you give up some percentages, but you give away, you start building in the kingdom, and you get you to the next one and to the next one. So Stacy, my wife, came up with this. She wanted to come up with the revolution of love, and through Echoes of Creation, to bring all these talented people in that we're flying in all over the country to come in, and we're going to have breakout Keystone speakers. Then we're going to have breakout sessions where you have to spend time with these people, pitch your idea, get knowledge about how to write that book. There's some people think there's a book in everybody. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but maybe just getting to the right place to write that book, you need the right mindset. Maybe you have a song that you need to get produced, and you want to find a credible person to do that. That's who's going to be here. Maybe you've got a great idea on maybe you're a good artist, but you don't know how to sell your products out there in the marketplace. So we're gonna give people actual takeaways that they can start implementing the day after this and start monetizing their creativity. I hate that word starving artist, because it's straight from the pit of hell, because artists should be the wealthiest people on this planet, and Christian artists should be teaching everybody else on how to do this and take back that entertainment mountain. Whether you're producing a movie, whether you're making a new business, and plus I'm going to be there, and we're going to have our MBA team there, and we're going to talk about entrepreneurs. We're going to have a breakout for just entrepreneurs. Maybe you're not an artist. Maybe you're just you want to sell widgets, and you want to have a corporation build this widget. How do you do that? How do you get your corporation started? How do you do marketing? That's one of the things that God's blessed me with, is marketing. Okay. And so it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. I'm so glad you guys are coming. You're going to meet some cool people.
It's going to be epic, man. Come on.
Do I sound excited or?
Yeah, it's going to be a party. That's going to be fun. So where do they go? Echoesofcreation.life?
Yeah, echoesofcreation.life. And if they get in sooner rather than later, they can get the good price. And general admission And I think we've got like 20 VIP seats available left. So if they want to get on that, that's great. We're going to have November 30th we're going to have early registration. We're going to have a VIP dinner. All the presenters are going to be there, and we're going to have a nice dinner. I think you guys want to come to that. And then we're going to have, then we start Friday morning. Friday morning, and we're going to have breakfast. We're going to have a full breakfast, a networking breakfast at 8 a.m. And then we got keynote speakers, and we're going to have breakouts. And then we're going to show our pilot to everybody too. We're going to have our viewing of the Accelerator pilot. That's going to be aired Thursday evening or Friday evening. And then Saturday, again, we've got keynotes. Then we've got breakout sessions. We have a panel, which is going to be cool. And then that evening, we're going to show Nefarious from Chuck and Carrie. These guys are amazing. In fact, they they left Hollywood. They said, we're done with California. God bless them. And I wish California wasn't the way it is, because I'd probably live there. But I know you live out there in La Jolla, which is nice, Brian, which is not really California. That's kind of, you kind of got the nice area, which is La Jolla is beautiful. But so they moved to Texas, and they're building a huge studio out here. In fact, up there in Denton. And so, and they're going to be launching their new platform, Believe Plus. So it's going to be cool.
Incredible. Well, Michael, thanks for taking time to be part of the podcast. Again, I know you got a lot going on. Thanks to all of our Pray.com watchers and listeners. Special shout out to you guys. Eric and I have a newsletter going on called the Divine Advantage newsletter. Make sure to click on that link. It's totally free. Really great content to help you build business and beyond. So, amazing.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, gentlemen. I love what you guys are doing in the kingdom. You guys are ballers, man. I loved being at the Text Pro with you guys and standing up there and because I know as much about crypto as I do about Bangladesh, and you guys carried me. I'll tell you, I mean, you really did.
You help facilitate the good conversations, though.
Yeah, you guys are geniuses in that. And thank you, Brian. Thank you, Eric. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely. And we'll have to have you on, Michael, on another one, just because you have so much goodness. So you guys, this has been amazing. All right. We'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.
You got it. God bless.